Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy, and this is my latest tutorial. This is a fun tutorial about the subject of rubber stamp making, and in this video we make this stamp. This is the Dawnguard Rune Shield. You know, it's a fun process where you carve away rubber and you make different kinds of stamps. You can make large stamps, you can even make small stamps like this. And these are kind of like construction stamps, I call them, because you can use them to do drawings and designs, or you can do symbols and objects and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of different ways to do it, a lot of different techniques, and like for instance, you can use an ink stamping pad like that, or you can use inks that you roll out with that roller with the red handle. So in this video, I'll show you all about it, and you'll have a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Let's launch into the introduction, and then let's do how to make rubber stamps. Thank you. Dioramas, origami, catapults, and trebuchets, telescopes, terrariums, bonsai trees, and paper games, swords and shields, and real blacksmithing, model boxes, animation. I teach the art of real creation. StormTheCastle.com. Let's make something. All right, let's take a look at the basic tools and stuff that you need to do this kind of woodblock carving. Here's some Speedy Carve rubber mat. This is really wonderful. Very easy to carve, inexpensive, comes in a lot of different sizes. This is a linoleum block if you want to make more like a woodcut. It has wood on the back and linoleum on the front. A little more challenging to carve, a little less forgiving. Here's a carving set, really inexpensive carving set. And this is called a brayer. It is a roller where you roll the ink on. And you should have some kind of ink. Speedball makes this nice little block printing kit with a bunch of inks in it. It's kind of nice. You can use, depending on the types of stamp you want to make, if you want to just make small ones, you can use an ink pad. So let's take a quick look at the carving tool. Kind of nice. Comes with a handle with a hole in it like that. A little wooden dowel. And what you do is you put a tip. There's different tips, different thicknesses and types of tips for carving. You put that in the handle. And when you want to take it out, see, and you carve. Always carve away from yourself. That's a safety tip. But to take it out, you just pop it through with the dowel and you can put the next tip in. Kind of neat. Nice little tool. See, we'll put the next tip in. So let's make a stamp. We're going to make the Dawnguard Rune Shield from Skyrim. A couple of different ways you can do it. You can draw right on your rubber pad, or you can draw on some paper, a tracing paper like this, your design. I like using the tracing paper because then you can, erase it. It's easy to erase and work with. And then put plenty of graphite on it, and then put it on your stamping, your rubber pad, and press on it so the design is transferred. There you go. Now you can touch it up with a pencil. See, it's a little smudgy. That's okay. Touch it up if you want. And you can always erase it off the rubber pad like this. Start over. Or you can just draw right on the rubber pad. Now, interesting thing is, especially as a beginner, you want to watch the details. We're going to leave out some of the details, like these curls here. Kind of challenging. Just as you're starting out, you might want to simplify your drawings. There you go, the Dawnguard Rune Shield. This is the part you've been waiting for. We're going to start carving this thing. Now, if you bought the carving tool set, you start with the number 1, which is the smallest carver. And what you do is, and this is important, is you do your lines like this. Makes it much easier to remove more rubber later because you can carve to the lines. And I will show you that and what that means. And there's a bunch of tips I got for you here in the video. You keep watching, you're going to pick up some nice tips. See it? Now the lines have been carved. Can you see them? Now, if you can see how removing rubber in those sections will be much easier because you can carve to the lines, and I'll show you that. So let's change to a larger tool so we can remove larger amounts of rubber. And we go ahead and remove areas. See, and because we carved those lines out, the rubber comes right out in sections. And before you get to carving, make sure you watch this whole video, because things like negative and positive space, like what do you carve and what don't you carve? It depends on what you want it to look like. It's because every part that you carve out will not be inked. Only the stuff that remains actually transfers ink, and that's important because you'll have a positive or a negative. See, so let's just carve out all the spaces. Very nice. And always, always carve away from yourself and away from your other hand, because you can actually stick yourself with that tool. See, there you go. See it? Looks really good. All those spaces have been carved out. So now we want to carve out everything around it so that doesn't show up in the stamp. I actually trim this. Now we can trim this pad, this rubber pad, down with a pair of scissors to make it a smaller size. And then just remove all the excess rubber. And we end up with this. This needs a little bit more work, but you see how it is? And all of those lines are just rubber being removed around the shield. Doesn't make any difference. It doesn't matter, just as long as it's lower than the actual shield. And so we're going to take off the excess to get that profile lower. And we're just about ready to actually do some stamping. So now first we're going to mix up some of the ink, and this is a water-soluble ink, which is kind of nice. And we spread some on a piece of paper. Add a little bit of water if needed, and then roll it out like this. And then roll it onto your pattern, your stamp. See how it just places on the raised sections the stuff you didn't carve? It's kind of almost counterintuitive. What you didn't carve is what you end up with. You know, you're carving away all the negative space. So roll it out evenly and nice, and then you can stamp it. And there's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to do this. It's just like that, where you place your stamp on your paper, you press down on it, and then you lift it. Very nice. Crisp and clean and a nice stamp. Now you can also do this. You put ink on it. Ink it up. Place it on your paper. Or place your paper on it. I'm sorry. And press it or roll it. And this works well too. Let's take a look. Pretty good. A little bit of a light spot down there on one of the spikes, see it? But pretty crisp too. Another thing you can do, and this is tricky, is you can brush on your ink if you don't have a roller, but you have to be careful with that. Trying to just kind of like lightly brush it so only the high spots get your ink. But see, there's a little bit of a spillage there. I mean, you can do this, but it's a little bit trickier and it tends to be a little smudgier. But this one comes out pretty good. Not too bad, but you can see how it's less defined. It's a little smudgier. The lines are a little thicker, but not bad. Now, I wanted to show you something. Negative and positive space. I talked a little bit about carving and what you carve and what you don't carve. There's 2 stars. See, this shows you can carve out the space inside, and that will give you 1 stamp. and you can carve out the space around it, and it gives you a totally different stamp. So you got to remember that. The rubber that you leave is what causes the pattern. That's what gets inked. That's what gets inked. See, so let's take a look at what I mean. And you can probably see that already, but I'll show you. So we get our ink. We ink up our stamps, our 2 stars, and then stamp them. Even though it's the same drawing, we carved it differently. One is a negative and one is a positive. And this is what you get. So keep that in mind when you're carving, before you start carving. Very nice. They're both very nice, though. Now, you got your star stamp or some kind of a small stamp like this you want. Make a handle for it. You can actually use like pink foam or insulating foam or some kind of foam, almost anything for this. I'm going to use a block of balsa wood, cut it out to a nice handle size. And this is important. I'm going to stamp one end of that wooden handle so I know what the pattern is and what it looks like. If you end up with a lot of stamps, you're going to appreciate doing this so you can just quickly see what stamp is what. See, there you go. That's this stamp. So now we glue the actual rubber to the other end of that block. Very nice. You have made a rubber stamp. I like it. So now let's take a look at this. Now with words and letters, remember, you have to carve them backwards. Or else the words and letters are going to come out backwards. Because you're making a reverse image. See, I'll show you. See, STC, Storm the Castle, is backwards, STC. But when you stamp it, so keep this in mind if you end up doing letters or words or something like that. Even if it's just a single letter, you have to do it backwards. Unless it's an O. I guess there's no backwards on an O. But there you go, see? Isn't that a cute dragon? There you go, I like it. StormTheCastle.com. One thing about the inks, these water-soluble inks are really nice. You can mix colors. Like, for instance, a little bit of blue with a lot of yellow makes what? Bonus points if you get it before I say it. Green. Right? So have fun with it. Be creative. Very nice green. And here we go. Here's one that I carved incorrectly before I thought about it. Linoleum block. What happened? We take that and we stamp it. Oh, and the other side is a stamp too. A wave pattern is nice. And linoleum block is backwards. Oops. So, don't forget, make your letters backwards and your words. One of the beautiful things about this kind of stuff with the rubber ink stamping is everything's cleanable with a little bit of soap and warm water. It's all water-soluble inks. So when you're done with the project or for the day, you can clean all of that up, including your roller and your trays and pans and stuff. Fun project. I really love rubber stamping. If you do some rubber stamping, send me a picture. I will send you a certificate of contribution. Thank you. Thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing to my channel. If you're not a subscriber, hit that button. I always have lots of fun and interesting and very creative projects. I do 2 new ones every week. As an example, here's a couple more videos you might want to watch.